Just for you to know, I don't do this daily, so perhaps sometimes I sound a bit nervous because I've got quite a few listeners this day. So I'll try to be as clear as possible. And if there are any questions, perhaps you can wait until the end, or if you really want to know something, you can put it in the chat, and then Jekte can have a look and ask me, because I also like to have a kind of conversation. So let's see how we do this. Okay, says Jekte, thank you. So as you see here, it's the nice flat fields of the Netherlands. This is where I come from. And we love the soil that we walk on. And this is the inspiration for that I will show you. Okay, check if yeah. About myself, my background is in art and ICT. I've done the Bachelor of Art, and I had an ICT company for 20 years. Together with House of Design. So I'm a database designer and also a programmer. So I love both ways. And if I combine art and technology, I come to the part of the design. And of course, I love the nature. And also this is an inspiration for me for the drawing that I do, but also to enjoy and to walk on the fields. About House of Design itself, it was established in 1996. And first it was a kind of internet community showing all the designers all over the world to show what they are doing, what kind of material they use, and to show it all on one web page to show the world what design is about. And what I found very interesting was to see how differently people are designing products, especially what kind of material is being used, but also the craft technology behind the products that are made. And this really inspired me to create it into a kind of societal design lab that we are doing at the moment. And what we do is we initiate projects to make changes really visible and tangible, so that it's not only about the research, but also that you do the research by doing it. And we are a small team. So we're with 4 ladies, but together with all the designers, farmers, and municipalities and SMEs that we work with, we're quite a big group at the moment. And most of the projects that we do is in the northern part of the Netherlands, and but also quite a few European projects. And this is just to give you an idea how the House of Design developed, because at first we were busy with showing what to put design on the map. Why is product design interesting? Why should we show it? Because there were a lot of exhibitions about art, but hardly any about design. So from 1997 till say 2000, we had different showcases, also with graduation designers from the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, and Great Britain. We all showed them in one spot, so you could see all together what the inspiration was of the product designers, which was very interesting because you saw a designer from Denmark doing almost the same design as the one in Belgium. Well, they didn't know each other, but there was a kind of ongoing thing like, okay, this is what we need. How do we live in a small area and put a chair inside a table within this small area? So this was very interesting to see how these different cultures are linked in a way. And therefore also we did a lot of design festivals in the northern part of the Netherlands, later also in Hamburg, in Germany, and in Berlin. And then I got to know the Cradle to Cradle from Michael Braungart, and we were invited by the Grand Theatre in Groningen to create an interior. And then I asked, would it be an idea to create it as much as possible a cradle-to-cradle interior with the possibilities that there are now? And this was the first time we really did something with sustainability. And after that, we cooperated with the government about a bio-based economy. And we set up a project about bio-based design. The bio-based producers were working together with the designers to create showcases. And then we did a lot with educational projects, with entering 3D printing, also about crafts in Europe. How can we preserve crafts by using design in Europe? And we did this in different European countries. And this was more about the showcasing of design. And then it started, House of Design started to change more and more like what is the role of the designers. And this is what I will be telling you more about the design interventions, also the value change, also the societal design for heat stress, and the circular design. Of course, now the circular economy is really ongoing, but also in climate change and also about our soils. And on the left, you can see this guitar. And this is one of the first projects we did. This was on a music festival in Groningen. Eurosonic, it is called. It's internationally famous. And what we did is to show how you can use bioplastics and 3D printing to create a musical instrument. And of course, we all know the instrument normally. But what if you don't have any legs? How could you use a 3D print creating a guitar and have a different design? So this was the showcase that we did during this festival. So during the 3 days of the festival, the printers were printing the objects at the moment itself. So this is the image that you see. So this gives a bit of a view of what we have been doing in all these years. And then, okay, if we speak about design, what is it? Is it design or is it art or something in between? Like here you see the chest of drawers of Theo Remy. He was one of the designers of Droog Design, which was starting in the 90s, which gave a real different view on product design. So it's also kind of an art form. And this is something that really inspired me in how can you use design in a different way, and not only for a product that you use daily, but also to have kind of storytelling inside of it. Because the role of design has been changed. And of course, we still need the coffee machines because we love our coffee in the morning. And there are, of course, more things that we need in daily life. But also, if you create something practical, you can also create it more societal. Or is the role of the designer now also a more societal role? Because, of course, we all know the human-centered design. Like, okay, this is the way we should design, but should we design this even now? Or is it more like a planet-centered design, of course, for the human use? So who is leading in this part? And this is a way that we are working now in our projects. So first the planet and then the use for the people. Because there's a change now going on. It's more like not only creating a product, but being a part of a system. So it's not only creating the product, but creating the system for the product. And this is really an interesting change which is going on at the moment. So how can we create this product that can contribute straight away to the society? And this is an example in how we create our projects. That first we have a look like, okay, what is a societal issue that we would like to address? So what subject can we tackle? And then we have a look like, okay, how can we change it? What is necessary to do this? And if we choose material as a first item to make this change starting, what would it be? And what will be the product that will tell the story? And then not unimportant, who do we need to involve in this process? And for this, I developed a value chain model, a local model that I created in all these projects that can help me defining the project layout, but also all the stakeholders that are necessary. So how can we create the steps from the current situation until the desired situation? So this is the basics of the model that we use. So what kind of product or service can we create to make this system change? So we're going to create a product. Okay, why and what is the story? What is the material? What are the effects using this material? But also the production and logistics. How is it made? Where is it produced? Is it produced on the other side of the world? Or can we do it more locally? But also what research is needed. Do we need research for the new materials, but also the skills? Because in the Netherlands, the last 20 years, there are hardly any skilled workers being educated. We're all working in our heads and our hands are being taken from people from far away. And of course, also the production is on the other side of the world. So we don't teach our children and our youngsters anymore to create things, but we need these skills. So what should we do there? And before creating a product, who needs this product? What is the business model? And will it be a shared system, or will it be a degrowth business model that is really interesting at the moment? And of course, at the end, what happens afterwards when the product is made? So this is the whole system that is set up around a product that is being designed. And with the design, you can make something appealing, but also valuable, because if you create it more locally, it will be a different price. And also, if you do it more locally, perhaps it's less a mass product, so there will be a price difference. So the design is very important here also for the storytelling. And if you choose the material, will you create it from a local renewable resource, or will it be a recycled material? How can you invite SMEs or craftspeople or regional people and create a kind of pride if you create it more locally, because people are more involved? And with the education, how can we train the smart heads and hands? So how can you create also a lesson material? This is also what we do. And also how we co-created before with Jekta in previous projects. But also the market, you have to prepare the markets also before they can have circular tenders. So how can you help them? And also the policy. How can the government play a role as a role model, and also already be a buyer, and to help the research and development to start? And at the end, will it be renewable? So this is the complete local value chain model to address the societal issue, but also an overview what stakeholders do you all need. And this is all necessary to boost the local economy. And we have the idea of to have, say, about 200 kilometers around us. How can we focus within there, and how many percent of the material and the hands can be within this 200 kilometers? And of course, to contribute to the zero waste society, but also with the employment, that it's more a purposeful employment, you're part of a whole, and to really create something that is visible and tangible and to be proud of. So this is a model that we use in all our projects. So I will show you the projects now, and then you know what the basis is of it. And what we say, our clients are not companies, are not usually municipalities or governmental bodies, but it's more like the society. So sometimes we think of our projects ourselves, and then we try to create funding for it. And sometimes it's a municipality who asks us to do a kind of research to use this value chain model for their waste streams. We create a kind of project around that too. But usually we say the society is our client. And for now, I will show you two examples of projects and also how we put it up. So one is about the climate, and the other is the UNESCO Wadden Sea region that you can see in the background, which is on the top of the Netherlands, just between the islands and the mainland. And I think, Jekta, you saw it once when you were in the Netherlands. So first we have a look like how can we use circular design for the climate? Because I think, you know, Jekta already said it's really hot over there. And we will have hot summers too, and they're getting hotter and even more extreme, but also the storms like everywhere. And in the Netherlands also you have very densely built areas with a lot of stone, and there's been a lot of cut from the municipalities in the maintenance of green. So there's hardly any green anymore. And so, okay, how can we create products to help for the climate adaptiveness of the city? And if we do so, why not use circular material straight away so we can combine the two? So how can we use the circular of the issue straight away as a kind of pilot using the circular material? So this is a project that we started in Leeuwarden in 2016. And here you see the heat stress card of the city of Leeuwarden in the northern part of the Netherlands. And also, as you see here, it is quite hot in the summer. And they say in 2050, it will be hardly possible anymore to walk in the streets during summer. And as you see, this is quite a large area. in Leeuwarden, even though it's not as big as Ankara or Istanbul, but it's quite big. So we cannot do it straight away, the whole city. So how we usually start is with a small project. So we started with one street in 2017 to make it more climate adaptive as a kind of pilot, but also as a showcase for the rest of the municipality. And now we are growing literally. So now it's the whole inner city that we are working on. And even now we're also looking at the industrial areas and also the living areas to finally do the whole of Leeuwarden. But it's always important to have this small little street, a small step to show people and to make it attractive, and then the rest will follow. And then conquer the inner city, as I mentioned. And it's a collaboration also here with all the stakeholders in Leeuwarden. So we work together with the municipality, but also with different entrepreneurs, with artists, designers, and also the students and even the residents. So this is a real co-creation project. So here you can see an example of tubes that can collect the rainwater that can be used for irrigation. And this is also being produced at the moment. This was the first pilot, and this was also the role of this street, to become a kind of pilot street, that the designers could create a showcase and to test it on the municipality, but also on the people living there. And now you can see how we created small gardens together with all the small entrepreneurs living there and working there. And what we did is to create a kind of ownership that each shop owner or gallery owner is also the owner of their garden. So you don't need a lot of maintenance time because you give it to the shopkeepers. And this is the green wall. I think actually you remember walking through the street that you saw this. And so this is an example of what is being created. And here you see the co-creation that we do and how it looks like. And what we do is to have twice a year a kind of meeting with all the shopkeepers together, and also the municipality and the company who helps to take away all the big plants that are being cut away if necessary. So there's a real ongoing system that the maintenance is also being done of the greening the city. And to continue it, we connect designers. So last year we had a design festival in the city of Groningen. And what we did here was also to have a circular and climate adaptive design challenge for designers to cooperate with a shopkeeper in the inner city and to ask them, okay, what does the shopkeeper need, and to create a climate adaptive product for them. And this festival was together with also the students from industrial design from the Hanse University in Groningen. So we created a 3-day makeathon with 120 students, with all the students of industrial design and the designers, but also from the Bachelor of Art and with the companies in the inner city. The makeathon, we used a lesson method that we created in an Erasmus Plus project called Craft Your Future. And this is how can we use craft technology and digital technology in a circular economy. So they had a card game that they used to create a product, and that they had to choose a circular material or a waste material that they could reuse, and to use a craft to create something. So some were knitting, some were sewing, some were weaving, and a lot of crafts were being used. And as you see here on the right, you can see a lady with the PVC tubes and also with the waste material, really knitting an enormous bird that can help the shadow in the street. So all the students were busy creating these products. And they took the card for weaving. So they got reed from the area and created a kind of green shadow place for putting bikes in the inner city, and also using the leftover parts of broken bikes to create the bicycle storage. And here you can see how if you combine different approaches, how you can create different design solutions, because for them it was totally new to use these crafts. They knew that they had a grandmother somewhere who was ever knitting. Now they were looking on YouTube movies in do-it-yourself knitting, and how can you knit within 5 minutes? And they were really enthusiastic, and that they were almost surprised that they didn't been taught how to use these crafts in their industrial design program. This is one of the designers who was linked to the design festival, and she created a green wall for a kind of coffee shop who uses these water cartons for their for the puddings. And so they have daily new cartons to use, and she puts it on the side of the wall. And there's also a filter system for the watering connected to the cartons. And all the herbs that she uses in her puddings that she sells are growing on the side of the wall. And this is a do-it-yourself, so she can share it to the other shopkeepers who also can create these green walls. And this designer created a system for green blinds, so you need less energy for your climate inside the shop, so less air conditioning, because you have the blinds of the nature who can cool the shop instead of having different blinds. And this also helps for the outside world with all the green. And we're looking now in how we can create it in a producible product, because of course this is only a prototype. And as you see on the left, you can see a kind of holder with the green is on, and there's the water that pumps up the water into the ropes to give water to all the plants vertically, a capitalic system, I think they call it. I'm not sure of the name. This is the other project. This is the Wadden area, as you can see from the Netherlands. You see the top, the islands, and in between the mainland and the islands, we call the Wadden Sea. And this is a UNESCO area, an UNESCO heritage. And there's a big story in how this has been created. Michael Pike wrote a book about how the North Sea has been developed, and it tells a beautiful story in how these islands were being created and how we used to live on the islands, because now we have big dikes to keep our feet dry, but first we were living on mounds in the old times. And so this is a real unique area. And in this area, you have the mix between nature and tourism and economy. So how can we combine these three items? Because, of course, tourism and economy uses a lot of waste, unfortunately, and the nature is not really waiting for all this waste. And how can we also keep the nature, but we need the economy to keep it going? And it's in a remote area. So we chose the Wadden Sea region as a closed area to create a system change that can be an example for other delta areas in Europe, because we also co-create with the Camargue in France and in Romania with what is it called again? I don't know, the Donau delta. And different deltas, they're really looking like, okay, how can we make these delta areas more prosperous? And this is what we want to share. So what we do is to create the steps from plastic soup to veggie soup. So how can we contract the plastic waste from the region and come back with bio-based and biodegradable alternatives? And here you can see us walking on the seabed when it's low tide, and it's really magic. So if ever you come in our region, please have the moment to walk on our seabed, because it's really beautiful. We cooperate with farmers, with SMEs, so I won't bother you with all these names, but we've connected with quite some people to do this, because it's quite a big change. And why do we do this? Because only having paper straws instead of plastic straws is not enough. There is a ban on single-use plastics, which is growing, but it's not enough to make this change. So the system needs to be changed. So first what we do is to fish all the plastic from the sea and to use it for climate adaptive products, as you saw before. So this is the first step that we do. And the second step is to come with alternatives. And we do this with renewable resources from the region, which are bio-based, but also marine degradable alternatives. And if we look at the local resources, what are they? What is growing in our lands? And that's, of course, the potatoes and the flax and the hemp, and we can use the seaweed or the waste streams from the wheat, so the sugar beets of the reed, the cattail. We are working on to create insulation material from the cattail, but also from the waste systems from the water treatment, because from here we are cooperating with a company who is extracting PHA from the rest from the water treatment. So first we created a local value chain around the flax, because we don't have any flax anymore in the Netherlands, only in the south, a bit more in Belgium and the northern part of France. It used to be a lot, but because of the cotton, of course, also here the flax disappeared. But it's a very good material for the farmers, because it's a very interesting rotation crop. It's a soil improver. It gives a lot of biodiversity. It creates the linen textiles, but also the linseed that you perhaps have in the morning in your yogurt or whatever. And but also for the flooring, you can use it for linoleum, or the lignin that you can extract from it to create biodegradable glues. You can use a straw if you cut it off for the interior panels, if you press it, and also for the short fiber that is left over that you can use for the insulation. And in this project, we do two things at the same time, because first we have to create a market to get people ready for the all the material that is used from the flax for the panels and also for the linen. And for that, we first buy the linen from the other countries, from Lithuania, from Italy, and to create the products as a showcase, but also all the linen products that are in our waste streams, the old clothes that are not being sold anymore. So we are collecting all the existing linen products. And from that, we create already first products as a showcase. So first we're creating bread bags and also bags to go shopping without using any packages. And in the meantime, we're setting up the production from flax to linen. So we look at how can the flax be, what steps do you need from flax until linen? Because first you have to put it on the field to rotate, and then you have to extract the straw from the long fiber. So there are really quite some steps before it is there. And one of the biggest problems is the spinning, because you need a wet kind of spinning before you have a thread of linen. So first we work together with Poland and the northern part of, in the northern France, there is still a flax spinning factory that we have, but we cannot have it yet in the Netherlands. But in the Netherlands, we have an industrial weaving company who can weave the material. So we also almost have the whole value chain there. And for the markets, we cooperate with the local producers who are selling the local produce food to create bags, first as a small product, but also interior companies for the curtains and for upholstery. And we take about 4 years to set all this up. We started last year. So last year we had the first pilot. We had 2 hectares of flax. And this year, 6 hectares has been sowed. It's in the ground at the moment while I speak. And the next year we will scale up to 20. And then finally in the 4th year, it will be 50 hectares. And then the complete value chain is running. So these are the steps that we set up to create this whole system. The first icon that we created to show flax as an example was for the Capital of Culture of Europe in 2018, which was Wadden. We created an icon, which is called a Frisian sweater. And we all know the Irish sweater and the Icelandic sweater. And we thought, oh, how can we create a Frisian sweater? And it was inspired by the lines of the historical clothing of Friesland, but also how the flag is standing on the field, as you can see how this gentleman is holding the flags. And what we did is to create a sweater from recycled wool together with the flags of Friesland. So you had both butterfly wings of the Ellen MacArthur in one product. So how can you use the biotical and the abiotical in one product? So now it's a real icon for circular economy in Friesland. So everybody who has an exhibition on circular economy in Friesland always has this Frisian sweater. And then they think, oh yeah, we need flax, and flax is interesting. And like if you buy a white car, all of a sudden you see everybody driving in a white car. And this idea is what we use to show the flax to people. And then all of a sudden they see how much flax is being used. So these are the first products that we will use. The bags for bread and beans, so you can do shopping without packaging, but also for interior products. But finally also to, instead of the sweater, also to have an outdoor coat, because we always have wind in the northern part of the Netherlands to keep us warm. We will try to create this parka. And of course, we need to scale up. So we also put in an Interreg North Sea project proposal, which is called building on bio-based materials. So how can we also use the flax to create buildings, to create a more like a maker industry in the North Sea region, and finally also in Europe. So we become less depending on outsourcing our products and materials to other continents in the world. So how can we create a European maker industry? So as you notice, we start with very small steps and you need a lot of time, but finally it can grow, because the province of Friesland was really happy with our project, Wat van Waarde, the plastic soup to veggie soup. And they asked us, how can we create from the Wadden Sea area to the North Sea region? And then perhaps finally, we also go to your seas, see what we can do in Turkey also. That would be great. The other material that we use is the PHA, which is biodegradable and a bio-based plastic, to see how we can create little containers to do shopping without packaging. Because if this goes overboard, unfortunately, it will blow from your boat. It will biodegrade, but it's also suitable for your washing machine. And what we looking at is the waste streams from the sugar beets, but also from the flax or the reed. And in a previous North Sea project called Biocas, we already created the festival cup. And this one is also being, I don't know if you see it, or you only see my screen, or do you see me? I don't know, even. And we tested this, and you can use it many years in your washing machine, so it can be reused very long. And if it goes overboard, one cup will take about 7 months to biodegrade. And it is only a little bit of CO2, which will be there. So no microplastics or nanoplastics will be wasted. And also here we use the same system. First, we create products from the PHA, what we buy from outside of Europe, to create the first products. And parallel, we create the production system that we can use it from the sugar beets locally and to scale it up. So these are the 2 lines that we do at the same time. So get the people ready, like, okay, this is what we need. And then to try to create it more locally. Because if we would do it the other way around, that first we create a product and all the production steps, and we are ready for the market says, oh, I don't want this product, or this is, we just focused on something else. So you need to prepare the market for your products at the same time as you are developing it. This is really something to remember if you want to do something like this. And okay, what will be the next step? As you see, it's growing and it's growing. So I'm always busy with what we need in 5 years. And I don't know yet, because it will be there in my newspaper, or talking with you, or talking with a farmer who is telling, okay, you know, the leaves of the potatoes, they're poisonous, and we are poisoning the leaves, so we don't have to use it for on our fields, but it would be very interesting to use this for a PHA. So there's already something going on, because when you grow flax, it's very interesting to have potatoes afterwards. So we are already looking at another value chain. This is usually how it goes. So don't plan too much. There was this beautiful saying, life is that what's going on while we were making plans. So always look at the sideways, always look what's going on beside your own plan. So I don't know the next step. So let's design a future together. And thank you very much for listening. And I hope you have many questions. And I hope you like to join, because we all need you to create this beautiful world that we are working on. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eileen. Thank you very much. It was really interesting. I have personally lots of questions, but I'm going to leave the floor for anyone who actually wants to ask some things, because I know we can catch up later. So anyone?
Perhaps it was too much. I don't know.
It might be. Sometimes it's just overwhelming. So for people who haven't, especially our students, didn't really delve too much deeper into the biological side of the circular economy. They are more on the technical side, so it might be very interesting. And also some of the terms they probably haven't seen in English before, like linseeds. I'm just going to translate.
And flax, does everybody know flax?
Guys, so just
may I ask a question?
Please.
Please.
Thank you very much. It's very inspiring. I actually, when I have seen your presentation, I thought we know really very little about the biological side of design. So in terms of design education, industrial design education, what new knowledge is needed to be integrated in the current curricula, do you think? What do industrial designers lack in terms of knowledge, especially when considering a product development process in terms of circular economy?
What would be very interesting for students to know is if they choose a material from the biocycle to create a product for a client, is also that for the client, it is interesting to use their knowledge for the climate, I say, I'm starting to lose my English, the climate goals, because companies, they have to focus on the climate goals. And if your students who will become designers use material from the biocycle, like flax or hemp, it also gathers the CO2. So if you use this material, you have a win in your business model for your company. So that is one from the business side. And from the material side, it's interesting for them to learn what crops are interesting to use for material, and especially the waste streams, because we do not want to fight with the food, because you have to divide your country in food, feed, and product. So what are the interesting materials that you can use? And especially when you are also an interior designer or using wood at the moment, that you can also use the waste streams of the corn or the wheat that we eat, and the straw you can use for the sheets of for your tables or for your interior panels or other wood. And then it's interesting also about knowing about the glue. So it's a lot about material knowledge. And so how is the resin or the glue or the connection, but also the value if you link it to the climate goals? Because this is also what I'm working on with Industrial Design University in Groningen. They're also working more on the technical cycle, and slowly on I'm bringing in the biocycle. Yeah, so they have the same kind of questions. Yeah, that's why I'm saying, okay, instead of designing a product, they need to create a step in designing a system that the product is part of. But this is also in a technical cycle way. Yeah, but if you use the technical cycle, if you are recycling plastic products, there's a lot of possibility that there will be microplastics. And this is why we choose for the biocycle that in 5 or 10 years, we will not use the plastics anymore for the products that people are using. So only for machines that it's not anymore involved with the people because it's toxic, because it's poisoning. That's why we chose for the biocycle. And I think it's for the students very important to know what is the material that I'm using. Yeah, like if you're playing a piano, you're not just playing music, but you learn the piano. And also if you are a designer, you have to get to know what is material about. So I think that will be interesting to have more focus also on material knowledge.
Thank you. That's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. So what is
Okay,
flax in Turkish? I don't know if they know what I'm talking about.
Ketan, yeah, I just explained it in the chat box as well. And linseed is ketan tohumu. So I just explained them, so it might be even more interesting, I hope. So we have a question in the chat box, which is it totally safe to use biodegradable and sea degradable materials since they get mixed in soil and sea? Yeah.
Yes, that's why this material knowledge, because you have different kinds of bioplastic and not all bioplastic is biodegradable. I don't know if you already addressed the different plastics that you have, the PP and the PET and all that, but also the bioplastics, because you have PLA as an example, which is
class in the second year, so they must have. I don't know the content, so
okay.
They must have.
So if you really have a biodegradable plastic, then it is totally safe to use because it will degrade in the soil and the sea. And sometimes you have a bioplastic that you need a machine to make it degradable. So you need to have nature degradable plastics. So this is something you have to research and then you know it's totally safe. So PHA is the one which is totally safe. Thank you for your question, Eileen.
Okay, any other questions?
Hocam, I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, Kutay.
So, thank you for the presentation, first of all.
Welcome.
My question is about one of the examples that you gave about circular climate adaptive products, specifically the small gardens example, where you dedicate small gardens to each shop owners in a street, as far as I understood. And yes. This street actually twice a year comes and helps if they are doing a good job of taking care of these gardens and kind of like motivating them to like help them grow. So my question is about like, have you found, is there like any, like some people might not actually want to take care of, or they maybe are very inclined to actually do it at first, but then later they kind of not do it so much. And when you visited them, like sometime later, have you found some of the owners actually not doing a good job, and like what would you do to like make them motivated more? because it's kind of in parallel with my project right now. I'm trying to like integrate nature into indoors as well, but I'm kind of having difficulty about what kind of a motivation can I give to the users in terms of taking care of these natural like plants, flowers, or etc.
Thank you for your question. It's a very good one, because this is one we struggle with too. What we noticed is if we give them knowledge about the green, they get to know it more. And so we tell them about the kind of plants that we use, and sometimes we let the person also choose, that we show them different kinds of plants, and then we ask them, okay, which one do you like best? And what are the colors of your logo? And if it would be purple, how nice would it be to put in lavender? So in a way, we charm them into it with knowledge. And so we try to create a link with the person or with the company, because do you work with companies or with people?
With companies right now.
Oh, perfect. So then this could be an idea, what are the colors of your logo? And that you have a look like, okay, what kind of a green would fit to that? What kind of flowers is suitable? And that you also give them the knowledge about the plants. And what we do is to have a kind of maintenance hands out to tell them, okay, this is growing in your garden. And we call him Mr. Lavender or Mrs. Lavender or whatever. And this is what I need. So please give me water then and then. If it's really hot, put a newspaper around me so I won't burn in the sun. And this is a way of kind of storytelling to create a connection. But of course, it depends on the person behind, because some people are concrete and they love concrete, so they don't like the green. And what we did is to skip them first, and that they can look how the neighbors are doing. And then when they see all the green in the street, they think, I'm sticking out, so I should do it also. But we still have 3 in the first street where we started who hate green. And but there's enough room for the others that we have a green street completely. So sometimes you cannot change a person, but this is a way that we try to attract them.
Thanks a lot.
An answer?
Yeah,
An answer?
Yeah. As I understand, I think a designer's role in this situation is kind of not only offering them this new thing, but also knowing a lot about the plants as well, because you're the one who's going to advise about how to take care of it. Yeah.
It's like an orphanage, like an orphan. You give them an orphan, please take care of the orphan. I don't know if you know what the word means.
Thanks for the answer.
So create a kind of connection between the both and find a way. If it's the color of their logo or their house style, or in a different way of like, okay, where did you go on holidays, or where do you come from? I get to know the person, and they say, okay, I used to live on the other side of Turkey and I miss it. Okay, what kind of special plants was growing there in your mom and dad's garden, and what do you like to have here? So try to charm them. Thank you for your question. It's a good one.
Actually, a follow-up to that from me. It seems like your role does not end when you set up the gardens, but it kind of continues. So it's actually beyond the the design project. It never finishes apparently. So that's also interesting to hear for all you guys in the design management course. So keep this in mind.
That's why I call it designing a system, and the product is a method. It's a stepping stone.
We have a question in the chat box. Oh, Fatih, you were going to ask a question as well.
I can wait for the chat box.
Okay, from the chat box. In addition to material selection, do you have any advice for us designers to apply on our products while designing? Any tools and methods, I guess, there.
Sorry?
They are looking for any tools and methods that they can actually deploy.
Yeah, I think Ellen MacArthur also has a material workshop strategy and also that you can measure the impact of your choice of material while designing your product. And I think it's, I will try to find it. I will send it to Jekta. But if you have a look on the Circular Design Guide of Ellen MacArthur, you have also this material one.
I
And
think they're
there's an
asking
international.
for tools and methods besides material selection. I mean, other tools like idea generation, I don't know, design detailing, impact assessment, things like that.
I don't
Do
know
I get
if
it
they're
right?
there yet.
Narva, is that what you're asking?
Yes,
Sorry,
Ajahn.
Jekta?
Beyond material selection, what can be done while thinking, like for reusing, maybe modularity, examples like that, for
Could you
easy repairing.
Could you repeat that? I could not hear you very well. Sorry.
My question was like, beyond material selection, what can be done while designing a product, like maybe screw selection or modularity, examples like that? Do you have any advice beyond material selection for designing products?
Yes, what we have been doing is to look at the craft technology of wood structures, is how you can use different connections from the ancient time in using wood. And it's also interesting to use this for the biomaterials, because then you don't need any screws or different materials or different engineering, but like the old times. So it's very interesting to look at the wood crafting for the connections.
Thank you.
So sometimes you do one step back to learn and then 2 steps forward to innovate. That's usually a step that I use. Is this an answer to your question, or is it too short? Do you need more?
Yes, if you have more advice, I can. But thank you for your advice.
And especially if you use the biocycle material in designing, it's very interesting also to look at the different glue options in how to, if you want to use glue, because in a cradle to cradle, it's better to not use glue, but how you can take it apart. But if you need a glue, especially to create sheets for your table plates, then it's good to have a look at different glues, but you can also use steam and pressing methods also to create products. So also use this as a way to create products.
Thank you.
Okay, Eileen, I know we are at the end of our session, but do you have time for one more question from Fatih?
Yes.
Yeah. Fatih, go ahead.
Okay, so as you said, biodegradable materials and designs are like orphanage, so they require care. I think like being them environmentally friendly, also it is their downside. So since they are environmentally friendly, environment degrades them rapidly compared to non-friendly materials. So how can we turn this downside into a positive side? How can we convince people that caring for this product is good for you, or like caring for this product makes this product better than a non-environmentally friendly product?
I think it's also showing the toxic side of the non-friendly products and the materials, because we do not know the effects well enough from using fossil plastic products, especially in the textile. People do not know that they are wearing polyamide or nylon or other polyester clothing, that every time they wash their clothing, there will be microplastics in the system going into the seas. And even now they are finding microplastics in the bloodstreams and also in the placenta from babies. So it's getting everywhere. And usually I don't tell this too much because they don't like me anymore because I'm telling bad news. But this is usually the way how I convince them, like if we use non-environmental friendly products, that we will get it back in this way. We will be polluted ourselves. And this is why we made a change to the biotic system, that if we reuse the non-friendly material, we keep it in our system. So we have to already prepare ourselves to change it to the biotic system to try to get rid of these materials. So also here, usually by telling the true story. And what we do is to try to make the alternatives as beautiful as possible, to give it the value, and that they really like the alternative. Instead of having my finger up saying, hey, this material is not good for you, I like to show them the beauty of the alternative. But sometimes you need to tell them the truth, because people do not know. People do not know that every time they use their polyamide, and if you rub it or you're walking, every time there will be microplastics around you. And we do not know this. And we do not know this because there are people who are earning money on these materials, and that's why it's not being told enough. And that's why us designers are the ones who need to tell it at a certain point. Is this an answer to your question?
Yes, thank you. And I think we share a similar experience in that terms. Like, for example, when my friends decide to buy something, I try to tell them, don't buy this instead. And they are like, why are you interfering with my tastes, etc. And it's really infuriating.
I like it. You're my friend. Because people do not know, and they get educated, they get irritated, as you say, because they do not like to not knowing, but because the world is not telling them, we are the ones who do it. Yeah, but this is the way. And yeah, you're right. So good luck. And if you need me, let me know. We'll be on the same field.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank
Can
you
I
very
ask
much,
something?
Eileen. Oh, do you
If
have time
that's
for one
okay
more?
with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for your presentation. First of all, you mentioned designers should like prepare their product for the market while they're designing it. Like, but how do you initiate that process? Like, how do you start preparing your the market for your product? I was curious about that.
I link them to the system. So I'm not by myself designing a product, but I create a system and I add the market inside it. So what I usually do is to create first a small product that I can show one of the people of the market. Say it can be a shopkeeper, or it can be a municipality, or it can be an SME. That they are part of the first protos that we are designing in our system. So we can hear straight away what is necessary to use within the design. And that is the first step that we do. And then the one that I was explaining, to have these two parallel lines working together, that we create a product that makes it visible, like this freezing sweater that I showed you before, that we use with the recycled wool and a little bit of flax of Friesland, but the rest of the flax comes from Belgium because we did not have it yet. That you create this kind of icon product that you can show the market already. So they get used to this new material and this new way of thinking. And then when you are ready with producing your products, they are already there. And so it's not like, okay, I'm creating something for Philips. So I give them a call and say, hey, Philips, we are designing something for you. And are you ready for my product? That I would invite Philip straight away in the system. Is this an answer to your question? So it's not that I tell them, okay, here's the product and you're going to like it, but more like, okay, they are being part of the team, and this is the local value chain that I showed you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so cooperate with them, ask them to be your partner in crime. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. What are you designing that you are thinking of this question? May I ask, Bora?
Like it wasn't anything specific. I was just curious, like how the process went. I'm not in that stage for my graduation project right now. Like I'm not thinking about the marketing part, but maybe I should.
Okay. So perhaps you can have a product that you cooperate with a farmer in your region to see like, okay, is there a farmer who has a waste material and that you can create a product together? And then you can show the municipality, hey, I'm cooperating with this farmer and look what I'm doing to create a non-toxic product to help your climate in the inner city of Ankara. These are usually the steps I take.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Eileen. Some students are panicking because their next class is going to start like in 2 minutes. So
Okay.
let's call the day today maybe. Thank you very much for your
And
presentation.
if there are questions later, they can send it to you, Yekta, and you can send it to me, and then I can answer it at a later time.
Of course, I will do so. So this is a note to all of you. If you have any questions, send it to me and Sumaya, and we are going to share it with Eileen. Thank you very much. Really, it was really inspirational and obviously very helpful to our students.
I hope so.
Thank
I
you,
hope you followed
Eileen.
everything. Okay, and thank you, and good luck with all your exams. And have
Very
a nice
to meet you.
and have a nice holiday next week.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you very
Thank
much. Bye.
Bye-bye.